welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drew B. Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing it to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. Doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, what gender. You can make an amazing life in sales, and today's guest is no stranger to that journey. I'd like to welcome Miss Amanda Northcutt. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. I want to jump right in. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
Yeah, it's one of those stories that your mom always tells you about, don't judge a book by its cover. And that doesn't really stick. There's not a lot of meat on the bone until you encounter a situation where that's in your face big time. So I started my career in sales as a 16-year-old. Working at a shoe store in North Dallas, very ritzy neighborhood, and was able to parlay that experience to do an internship while I was a college student at the Lexus dealership in Dallas, Texas. Very, very prestigious family of dealerships. And I was learning how to sell to an upmarket client base and was getting a lot of coaching, which is very helpful. This was new to me. I come from money or anything like that. And the clientele that we're used to having walking into the Lexus dealership, Prada, Gucci, the whole 9 yards, lip filler, even in the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, the whole bit. And it's very stereotypical, like ICP coming in from that neighborhood into that luxury car dealership. But one day, this dude comes in cut off jeans, what looked like an old ass t-shirt, and a fanny pack. And none of the salespeople were really like giving him the time of day, no attention whatsoever. It's like, did a homeless guy roll in off of the street and come in here, kind of disrupting the vibe of the dealership? So as the intern, I went up to him and spoke with him. And in his fanny pack was $75,000 in cash. And at that time, again, this is late 90s, early 2000, that would actually buy you the most expensive Lexus on the lot. And he left about 3 hours later with the most expensive car on the lot. And the intern got the commission, and all the salespeople are kicking themselves. So that has been burned in my brain for many, many years now, and helped me be a less judgmental person in general, but also in a selling environment. Don't judge a book by its cover.
I love that story for so many reasons. One, because I lived in North Dallas, so I know the area you're talking about. Very, very much about that, Prada, Gucci, the fancy logos. Yeah. And have had very similar experiences where, someone comes in, they look homeless, but you don't know they're actually a multi-millionaire because they just like to dress how they like to dress, flip-flops, cut-off shorts, old band tees, whatever. So how did that serve you as you continued on in your career? Because as I was reading through your profile, I mean, you've had some pretty incredible jobs over time. How did you kind of lean in from that and take it to that next level?
I think that helped me sort of develop a value set from which to operate the businesses that I've run, and just to my personal operating system as well. And in point of view, and again, value set being really, really important, that you don't judge people and you show up as a curious person, and you show up to learn. You show up with a beginner's mindset and a growth mindset, and with curiosity rather than coming in with preconceived notions. And that has been helpful in all areas of life.
And as I understand, you went from kind of in the sales role to progressing through the C-suite to some of those upper levels. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. I've been an executive 6 times. I'm currently CEO of a multimillion-dollar company that I founded in 2023.
I love that. And as I again understand, kind of reading through your profile, you walked away from a big money position there in Silicon Valley to go all in on yourself. What was that like?
Yeah, it was really terrifying, but also fun. I've gone through a couple of phases of reinvention. So right after that sales internship at the Lexus dealership in Dallas, I was approached by some guys who own this website called texags.com. I went to Texas A&M University. It's now the largest university in the United States. And at that time, Texags was just like a fan site for like rabid college football fans. Like that was their whole vibe. I was the second employee at the organization. These guys heard that I was into sales and they needed somebody to come basically sell air on their website. And so I really got thrown into the deep end and had no idea what I was doing. But we're talking about like 728 by 90s and 160 by 600 banner ads and things like that. So going and trying to sell to a market that was very unfamiliar with what the hell that was. And so there was a lot of education involved. And so I learned about asking questions, and you have to introduce like a completely new distribution channel like that, you have to do a lot of education. And so I needed to be able to tie my prospects goals, their high level business goals, straight line back to what I had to offer them on texags.com. And long story short, that's now the largest collegiate media property in the world. And I was very fortunate to be there early on and had a very strong role there for about 9 years. Then I had this massive health crisis. I was a total workaholic in my 20s. I mean, like full on. I started working full time when I was 19, and well, I was still in school, and it was just a lot. And I was a big fish in a little pond, making lots and lots of money, and it was really cool. And then I had a kiddo, and the bottom fell out of my health completely. And so I had to quite quickly figure out, how do I go from making this amount of money, working 80 to 100 hours a week, making this amount of money or more, working about 20 hours a week. So went back to the drawing board, repackaged my skills. And fortunately, it was early 2010s, and software as a service was really like fully on the scene at that point. You had a lot of talented engineers making really cool shit, but no one that knew how to sell it, especially in like a full customer lifecycle capacity, all the way through to, you know, maximizing customer lifetime value. Obviously, on software as a service products, you want to keep people on the hook for a long time. So I was able to come in and make a name and career for myself there. I've consulted for dozens and dozens and dozens of SaaS companies around the world and been an executive for half a dozen of them. And then during COVID, I feel like a lot of us did a lot of self-reflection. And I determined that I want to spend the last third or so of my career elevating people whose voices are typically not heard, whose income is typically capped. Like, it, maybe not if you're a sales like absolute killer, but otherwise it's very hard to make more than like 250 in a corporate job. And so I cherry picked all of my very, very favorite people that I've ever put onto teams or on teams that I've led at different organizations around the world, and went all in and bootstrapped the company myself. And we now build these boutique coaching and consulting firms for subject matter experts. And I'm still the lead salesperson in that role. And so I'm selling very, very, very high ticket services still. I love sales. I've been obsessed with sales and a student of sales for 25 years. So that was a very long answer to your very short question.
No, it's cool because it gives me a couple things I can pull out of there. Because one, I feel like in my own experience, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners will agree with this, like 95% of the opportunities I've had were, hey, welcome to the team. Here's the wolf pack. Figure out how to survive. Right. And you're going, well, like, I don't know anything about this product. I don't necessarily know anything about this service. So, like, okay, I guess I got to educate myself so that I can educate my prospects, which is going to ultimately be the number one thing you can do for yourself. Because when you understand it at that level, the passion that you have for it is what translates to those individuals who maybe have more experience or who maybe are, you know, higher up on the ladder than you. But the fact that you believe in it so wholeheartedly because you've literally just engrossed yourself in it, it gives you a leg up on every other salesperson that just comes in with like a flashy script, or, you know, they're like, oh, I've got all this charisma. And it's like, yeah, that will only get you so far.
Yes.
And understanding at a deep level how to not only educate yourself, but then to educate the people around you is what progresses you through that ladder of leadership. And I would be curious for you, like, what was it that made you decide, like, hey, I'm going to step from sales and go into the leadership side of it? Because not everybody who's successful at sales can be a successful leader.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. I have always been a better coach than a player. I was a pretty elite athlete in high school, and was hoping to play in college. And then I had this career ending spinal surgery. But the theme throughout my athletic career is that I always wanted my teammates to be successful. I always wanted to elevate my teammates. I always wanted to bring out the best in others. I'm a maximizer. I remember my mom telling me from a very young age, and I did not understand it until more recently. I was like, she would tell me often, people watch you. People watch you, like, meaning like you're a natural leader. And I did not, again, understand what that meant or the implications therein or anything like that. But that felt like a very natural thing for me as I mean, I've been managing teams since I was 24. And so I am hopefully a lot better at it now than I was then. But I've always enjoyed identifying other people's potential and elevating them to that potential. So as long as they're into that and aligned and want to be coached, I feel far more purpose, meaning, and fulfillment from elevating other people than I do being successful as an individual.
I love that. And I would have to imagine that blends into, being a mom and having a family of your own, which is kind of where I want to take this because I feel like when we're young, we have all that energy. It's easy to grind 80, 100, 120 hours a week, but it's having that realization that, okay, now there are other people who I'm responsible for. I live by something called the 4 6s, and I did the same thing. I was young, I went all in, I was grinding just to the bone, and my wife had to come and basically slap me and say, hey man, like, you're either married to your job or you're married to your family. Which one's it going to be? And I had to
Mm.
have that like hard heart to heart with myself and realize like there's no amount of money in the world that can replace the time that you're not spending with your family. And for you, I know you also mentioned you had some health stuff come up along that as well. So like what were some of the things that you had to implement so that you could continue making the money that you needed to make and wanted to make while also being more intentional with that time?
Yeah, I had a lot to confront. I had a lot to confront as a 27, 28-year-old. And I mean, it was a very, very significant health crisis. We were not sure if I was going to pull through it or not.
Mm.
So, just confronting your own mortality really, really makes you align your priorities and align your actions to your priorities. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of expressed preference versus revealed preference, but it's like, are you doing what you say, or are you saying one thing and actually doing the other? Your actions are much more
Mm.
indicative of what's going on inside than what you actually say. So that helped me. That health crisis. I mean, I'm a completely different person. I used to be a freaking freight train. I mean, in my marriage, in work. I mean, if I had a goal, I would stop at nothing to get it done, short of anything like illegal, immoral, unethical, that kind of stuff. But if I had a goal, it's like, get out of the way and watch. And realizing that that was not the most important thing and not the person that I would have want to been remembered as, and knowing that that was not setting me up for success in my marriage relationship, or my relationship to my boss at the time or other colleagues or my team. So that was just a forcing function for a tremendous amount of self-reflection and reprioritization and setting up systems, honestly, to operationalize my values, to use like a full on Silicon Valley ridiculous like jargon term. It's like, these are my stated values and priorities, and these are the systems I'm going to set up. So I'm actually, my express preference is matching my revealed preference, and I'm actually like living into this kind of new path. And so that means putting boundaries around work hours and being more intentional about my spending time in my personal relationships, and putting some guardrails on my career, and making sure that I was taking time to reflect and ensure again that my actions were aligned with what I was saying and what needed to happen for me to survive also.
I love the word boundaries, and I think it's something that a lot of sales professionals just completely disregard early on in their career. Like, they answer the phone at every hour of the day, they're running and gunning, like, there is no style, they are the freight train. And
Mm-hmm.
also, what I had to learn the hard way over time was that until you respect your time, no one else is going to respect it either. And when you start putting in some of those boundaries of like, hey, I don't take work calls after 6 p.m. or between 6 and 8 or whatever that is, it's interesting how many people initially will like push back on it and get angry and be like, how dare you turn me down? Like, I'm going to go somewhere else and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, okay, I have to have this for me. But the people who show up then and are like, yeah, I totally respect that. I appreciate you for that. And actually, it makes me want to do business with you more because you have this level of understanding. Did you also have a similar kind of like experience in that aspect of things?
Yeah. And that touches on something a little bit deeper as well. When you refuse to take the calls at any hour of the day and being completely interruptible and always available, you go from salesperson to peer. And that's really, really, really important in a relationship and professional selling environment. You should not always be available. You should not be pandering. You should be a strategic partner and a peer to the professionals and their organizations that you're selling into. So it actually works from a personal branding and positioning standpoint, and also helps with your life and having balance and to your point, boundaries.
I love that. How do you train your team to understand that? Because I would have to imagine there's probably some young, hungry hustlers on your team that are like, go, 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 go. We got to make all the money and we got to do all the things. Like, how do you find the balance for them without turning them off from that skill set that they have, that energy that they have?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that starts with the hiring process and culture setting. So we could go down that road, which I don't think is probably the right vibe for today. But in our company, we do have stated values, and we are always testing for values alignment. And we're big on culture creation and curation. And so it is a matter of channeling that energy and giving situational coaching. Like, we're a really big coaching organization and big on growth. And so we need to make sure that individual, before they get offered a job at Level Up, that they are aligned with our values and will fit into our culture, and that energy is focusable, if you will. It is like, okay, we got to channel that right here. And then the situational coaching helps create kind of boundaries. Like, here's the sandbox that we're operating within. You stepped outside the sandbox and we need to bring that back in. If it is a bring back inable thing, sometimes those are fireable things. But just making clear and putting context and color around specific actions in a situational coaching environment, and then using like our values, our annual goals, our long-term vision for the organization to help align behavior toward those things so that we're all rowing in the right direction.
I really appreciate you sharing that, because there's so much to that that people just kind of gloss over, but it's those little things that will make the biggest difference in how long a company survives. And so when you're working with like these subject matter experts, what's like the main thing that you lean in on them first? Like, they're paying you high ticket, they're coming in, they're already an expert. Like, what's the main thing that you lean in on first to help them develop their platforms and programs?
That's a great question. Our program serves to answer 5 questions over a period of 7 months. And 4 of these are very, very directly relevant to salespeople and selling as a peer and a professional. And in order to do that, and also in order for these consulting and coaching firms to be successful that we're building at Level Up, you got to know who you are. What is your positioning? What is your personal brand? What is your special sauce? What are the painful, pervasive, urgent, expensive problems that you are uniquely equipped to solve because of your experience, expertise, and passion? Who are you? Okay. And that's got to be aligned with, when you're in a sales position, the organization, right? So there's got to be alignment there. And then, who's your ICP? Who is your customer? And at what stage, what life cycle stage of awareness and marketing, whatever term you want to use, do they need you? What is the pain that they're feeling? What is the pain they're feeling? When are they feeling that pain? And then where can you meet them? What is the right pond to fish in, if you will, in order to find those people who, like, I mean, we're not selling vitamins here. We're selling painkillers. And so it's like the knife has to be in, turned, and they're going to bleed out if they don't find a solution. Those are going to be the people who are going to buy quickly. You can collapse your sales cycle. There's all sorts of benefits to that. And when you can come in and provide a painkiller of that level, you are inherently referable as well. It's remarkable to come in and find someone at the right time and make the right offer in the right way. So who are you? Who are they? And at what stage do they need you? And then, how do you solve their problem? So in a consulting firm, it's like, what's your methodology? What's your intellectual property? In a SaaS selling environment, it's what does the software actually do for me in terms of value outcomes and transformation, not features, not widgets, not this is how onboarding works. What is the result that my organization is going to be able to achieve through the implementation of the thing that you're selling? And then in a consulting firm, the 4th thing is like the product ladder. It's all the different implementations of their methodology. So it depends on if a salesperson, if you have one thing to sell or multiple things to sell. But again, if you have clarity on who you are, who they are, how you solve their problems from a methodological standpoint to provide the value outcomes and transformation that they need, and then you've got a product ladder that you can match their problems to a specific right solution, then you're going to be just immediately, again, elevated as a peer, seen as a professional, seen as a strategic partner, not as someone who's just trying to be pushy. Don't ever be desperate. If you show up to a sales cycle with any hint of desperation whatsoever, you're out, because our lizard brains, that old back brain, tells us that that's gross. We've all been in relationships like that, right? And desperation. Yeah, it's an absolute, I mean, it's just a total, you have a visceral reaction to people who are desperate. And you immediately turn and walk the other way. So regardless of how far you are from your quota this month, or how desperate you are to make that commission so you can pay your rent, or whatever the case may be, you better show up like a boss, not like an arrogant asshole, but like a boss, like a peer, like a pro, like a C-suite executive, and you're a matchmaker. That's very important. You're not a salesperson, you're a matchmaker. Do you have the right solution for their painful, pervasive, urgent, expensive problem right now? And if so, Can you demonstrate that through receipts, case studies, testimonials, and statistics, and like really bring it? And then you're matching your solutions to their problems. And then the selling part kind of happens. People are going to ask how to work with you and how we get started. But if you're constantly pushing without having the information from which to build your case, you're sunk before you start.
I love this because one of the things that I'm very grateful that I learned early on was how do you land the person on the right product at the right time? Because everybody's got these super high ticket and like, hey, I want to sell you the whole shebang, and it's like, yeah, there may be a time and place for that, but as you mentioned, if the biggest problem is something small and it can be fixed with something smaller than your big package, the lifetime value of that client is going to be exponentially higher because you're going to solve the problem they have right now, which builds the trust through the roof and then creates further opportunity for growth. But I see so many sales professionals make that mistake early on, and even small business owners and entrepreneurs like, hey, yeah, you need XYZ system and it's got all these widgets and bells and things. And they're like, I just want to be able to go home at the end of the night and not worry about my business falling apart. Like
Right.
there's those right product for the right time and place. And I love how you touched on that because there's just so many people out there trying to push their high ticket thing down your throat versus easing someone into the relationship and being like, cool, let's build a little bridge here. Let's have some trust. Let's make sure that you understand how we operate. Because I've also seen people who sell the high ticket thing and then there's a ton of resentment. There's chargebacks. There's people that are like, this isn't even what I really wanted, but now I'm here because the guy was like super salesy and like I just wanted to get out from the phone, so I bought the thing. How do you make sure that your subject matter experts understand that process at a deeper level?
Yeah, there's an enormous amount of coaching that goes into our accelerator program in a group coaching environment. And the way that we structure our program is 7 months. We guarantee a 5-figure MRR outcome, and we are building the business over here. And then it's a fish and fishing pole model. We're building the business. We give you the fish, and it's a business in a box that's demonstrably effective, as shown by hitting your MRR guarantee, which is usually like $30,000 to $60,000 in MRR in addition to wherever they were at when we started work together. And then the other bit is the fishing pole, how to think and act like a top CEO. And so we solve the 5 things in business you need clarity on. The 5th thing is your go-to-market strategy, how to get customers. Obviously, salespeople are part of that GTM strategy. But if you have extraordinary clarity on who you are, who your customers are, how you solve their problems, what the value outcomes and transformations are that you provide based on your product ladder, and you know how to fish in the right ponds. And ideally, again, your revenue is firmly based on retention, so expansion revenue and then referral based revenue. Everything becomes easier. So it's this total mindset shift from, oh my God, I hate sales, I'm sweating through my clothes, even us like having a conversation and talking about it, to you're a peer. You're a peer with these people and you're looking at them eye to eye. You're not begging for their services. We're leveraging strategic partnerships. We're not doing like, paid ads on Meta for consultants that charge $200,000 a year and $50,000 for a keynote. Like that's just not the vibe. So we're fishing in the right ponds and reminding these people. Our clients are like 40 to 60 years old. They know their shit. They're experts, multiple times over. They have great peer networks. And it's just a matter of giving them the language that helps them feel comfortable going and starting the matchmaking process and getting introductions to that end. And so we're really trying to provide coaching, enablement, reframing, clarity, and then easy ways in for the matchmaking process to begin.
I love it because there's something to be said about having the right message when you do start that marketing process so that you're not attracting the wrong individuals, because not all business is good business, people. Let's get this through your head. You don't have to sell everybody that has a credit card and a pulse. You need to sell the right people who actually need your product or service. And Amanda, I'm sure you and I could probably nerd out on this for like the next 4 hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. What is the best way for me and the listeners to come find you, follow you, check out more about what you guys do and how you help?
Sure. Check out my profile on LinkedIn, Amanda Northcutt, 2 T's at the end of Northcutt. And I share insights on how to be, a top coach and consultant, really, but it is all under these areas that are directly applicable to sales, because nothing happens in business until someone sells something. And so it's all about, again, finding that alignment, matchmaking, those 5 areas of clarity. So even though your audience is a little bit different than mine, hopefully this will be helpful, but you can get lots of good tidbits from me on LinkedIn. And then if you're listening and you're interested in the accelerator, like if you're interested in moving from sales to sales coaching, sales trainings, sales kickoff keynotes, things like that, visit mrraccelerator.com and you can check out our program there and submit a form and we can have a chat.
I will most definitely make sure we put all that in the show notes. And it's so fun to me to know that this is the progression path, right? We all start in sales, and as we develop and decide, hey, this is who I really want to be as I grow up. This is what I want to do when I get older. To see where these things truly make such a big difference. And so whether you're in sales or you're full on entrepreneur, been there 20 years, that's what I love about Call the Damn Leads, is it speaks to people of all different spots in that journey. And so if you're someone who's listening to this going, hey, I definitely need to make this transition, I highly encourage you to go check out her LinkedIn. I've been watching it. There's some amazing content on there. And more than anything, Amanda, I really just appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure. I really, really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You got it. Well, you guys know what to do next. If you enjoyed the show, go follow Amanda, share this episode on social media, tag us, maybe send it to somebody who's like really struggling right now and needs to hear some of the stuff in this episode. Like, help them, help you, help them. Put it out there. And then remember to, if you have a great story, I would love to bring you on. I'd love to share your insights and your wisdoms. And you're probably a subject matter expert of your own. So let's talk about that and help you get your message out to the masses. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your details. We'll get you scheduled in and we'll have an amazing conversation, just like I did with my new friend Amanda. So you guys know what to do. Go call the damn leads. We'll see you next week.